Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be back. I wanted to say the biggest thank you in the world to everyone who took time to watch my last video or who messaged and reached out and commented. That's how I felt after uploading that video. I had no idea how it would be received, and I'm just so thankful for all of you. And if you haven't watched that video, I do recommend that you watch that video before this one, just because I feel like this won't make sense unless you know what happened. So in today's video, I would like to continue the conversation. I want to give you an idea a little bit of what to expect from me moving forward. And I also wanted to talk some books and podcasts and recommendations. Okay, so the biggest lesson I learned after uploading my last video was the reminder that as people, we're all looking for deep and meaningful connection. And so that's what I want to be at the heart of whatever I do moving forward, because it's easy to forget that you're not alone, because life is stressful, especially these days it feels like. So that's what I want to do, is create art that reminds us that we are all connected. I still don't really know what form it's going to take. It still doesn't really matter as long as at the core of it is that intention. And it's actually exciting to me that I don't know what it's gonna look like, because then it's like we could do whatever the fuck we want, you know? I'm just gonna have fun with it and treat it like an adventure. And at the end of the day, as long as we're having fun, we're laughing, it's no judgment, compassion, honesty, then it's gonna be amazing. So basically in last week's video, what I didn't say, but many of you pointed out, was that basically I had a spiritual awakening. I didn't want to say it because like those terms, then you already have like an idea of what you think it means. I don't think like a year prior, I don't know what I thought a spiritual awakening meant. I probably thought it was like some new age bullshit, you know? But it's basically what I just said, but in the simplest terms, what my spiritual awakening means is that I have more compassion, I have more appreciation, I'm less judgmental, and I take myself and life less seriously. And that's really, there's nothing more to it. But it's different for everyone. Okay, so now I want to talk to you guys about teachings and where I started on my spiritual path. But I want to say this, that your essence is so unique that there's no one way. I think that there are different teachers and messages that guide you on the way towards finding that place in your heart that's already free. And it's uniquely your own, yet it's the same place that is available to all of us, except that we forget because life is stressful and we're human. So we're here to remind each other of that. So if you're just starting out, it's so exciting because when you find that thing, the teacher, whatever method, it could be meditating, it could be yoga, it could be being in nature, it could be crocheting, like literally there's no rules. Like it's not limited to books. When you find that thing that makes you feel connected and tapped in and in the flow or source, whatever, there's no mistaking it because you love it so much. You couldn't stop it if you tried. At least that's how it's happened in my life. What I do personally is I love learning about all sorts of different religious, philosophical, spiritual traditions, and I like pick and choose. I make my own little recipe, and it's the best thing. It's the best little soup for my heart. I think ultimately too, it's about learning to listen to your soul and your intuition and learning to trust yourself. So notice what you're feeling and honor it. Like if you're not into something and maybe you don't even want to look up spirituality stuff, then honor that, because we're always exactly where we're supposed to be. And it's really freeing looking at things that way. I had to say that because I respect everyone's beliefs, and I never want to come across like I'm trying to impose my beliefs on anyone. So this is where I started, but by no means does it mean that it's right for anybody else. So Metahuman by Deepak Chopra was my introduction to consciousness. This is a different story for another time, but a yoga therapist actually introduced this book to me. When I read this book is when my life really started to change. But I feel like after reading this book, my understanding of consciousness is like, well, I mean, you can never fully understand consciousness. Around that same time is when I discovered my favorite teacher, Ramdas. I actually discovered a lecture of his on YouTube. You know, I was just like dipping my toe in this consciousness, spirituality place, And so he was so different because he was so funny and he was honest and he was human. So I just fell in love. This is probably his most popular book, Be Here Now. My friends and family, who, if they're watching this, are probably laughing at me like, oh gosh, she's talking about Ramdas on YouTube right now. I'm like, yes, I am, because I love him. Also, I don't want to like take credit. A lot of what I say is paraphrased from his lectures because he's just so good at putting things into words and his lectures are so beautiful. Anyways, so yeah, Be Here Now by Ramdas. Ramdas has made the biggest change in my life. I listen to Ramdas, his podcast, probably every day. Like, I think there are a couple hundred lectures. I've listened to them all, so I go back and I re-listen. But yeah, maybe because I found him at the time when I was like, my whole life had just fallen apart. His story is really cool too. And what I like about him is he has a term called phony holy, but he did say that there was a time in his life when he was phony holy, and he's just so honest, and it gives me a lot of comfort because it makes me realize that I can be honest with myself too about it being exactly where you are. Like, that's one of his big teachings. Oh yeah, I should probably mention too, so the book starts out with like his story about his upbringing, and oh, that's him and Timothy Leary, like his upbringing and what happened, how he landed on the spiritual path. But then a lot of it is these really cool like illustrations with a lot of his, basically like quotes from his lectures. He references like lots of different religious traditions too, so I like it because it just feels like there's something for everyone. Okay, so the next book that I read, which was like kind of central to this like change in my life, was Autobiography of a Yogi. It's funny because my oldest brother, I was like, you need to read Metahuman. He's like, you need to read Autobiography of a Yogi. And then he kept talking shit to me. He's like, you're not gonna read it. And I was like, what? Like, I'm not like intellectually capable of reading Autobiography of a Yogi? If he didn't talk shit to me, I probably wouldn't have finished it, but I did. And this was a really beautiful book. Definitely reading Metahuman before this helped me understand this book a lot better. Also, I had mentioned the book, The Body Keeps the Score, in my last video. I wanted to say about that, it can be really heavy to read sometimes because you have to read about so much trauma, but I definitely learned a lot from that book. But I want to recommend this one I'm reading now. This one is called The Myth of Normal by Dr. Gabor Mate, Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. This book talks a lot about the mind-body connection and how as people, we adapt to our environment. It talks a lot about intergenerational trauma and basically how our emotions and non-things play a huge role in your physical health. The chapter that I just read was on attachment versus authenticity. And basically what he says, and it's interesting because Ramdas has also said something along these lines, as children, when we go through the process of socialization, we learn that our inherent needs are somehow unacceptable. You have to choose your attachment over your authenticity as a survival mechanism because you're dependent on the adults around you to survive. And so you learn that you have to do good in order to be good. And that's where that feeling of not being enough comes from. And that's where we learn to seek validation from the external world. Depending on the situation, it can turn into people-pleasing and overachieving and perfectionism. So I really like that stance on it because there's no blame in it. It's just a part of being human, and we have the opportunity to reframe the way we view ourselves. I think that's all that I wanted to cover in this video. Again, I just want to thank everyone for reaching out, and I love hearing your stories. I want to encourage you to keep going no matter what you're going through. If it's a difficult situation, you are needed, you are important, and the nature of your being is unified and connected to everything. You're not alone. All right, you guys, thank you for watching. I love you to the moon. I'm gonna be back here on my YouTube channel, probably on Instagram, here and there. I'm still managing that relationship. Gosh, I don't know why, like Instagram I have so much anxiety about. Oh, also side note, this is so stupid, it's gonna sound really stupid. It won't let me log in on my new phone. If I haven't gotten back to you, it's because I don't have Instagram on my phone. I can't get into my account. I have it on my old phone. Mainly, the main reason why I like going on Instagram too is to message with you guys. Honestly, like I don't really miss like taking selfies and stuff. Like I don't like it. I don't like looking at my face on my phone. I don't wanna look at my face while I'm talking about myself, looking at myself. Like I don't miss that. A little triggered. Oh, and I think okay, I'll end the video on this note. I'm gonna share a quote. We'll end the video with the quote. I love quotes. This is a quote by Ramdas. The spiritual journey is individual, highly personal. It can't be organized or regulated. It isn't true that everyone should follow one path. Listen to your own truth. All right, you guys, I love you. I will see you soon. Have fun and enjoy the ride.